Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Arlene Cohen Miller, to the show today. Arlene brings a unique blend of experience and perspective as an AV Preeminent Rated Attorney, professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, a professional speaker and workshop facilitator, and the CEO of Jewel Consultancy. Arlene supports law firms to retain top talent, protect reputation, and build future-ready organizations. She helps professional and executive women lead with courage, confidence, and calm assurance while honoring their gifts and well-being. Whether through workshops or coaching, Arlene helps attorneys, professionals, and executives transform negotiation and communication practices into trust, connection, and measurable impact. I'm excited to have you here, Arlene. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here too.
Absolutely. Tell us a bit about your leadership journey.
I guess it's been a big one because I decided I was going to become an attorney, and I went through law school, and so I became a leader as an attorney, especially in the second part of my career when I moved from family law to commercial law. And the second law firm that I became a partner in, which is a small boutique law firm, we were a member in the Commercial Law League of America. So I was the marketing person, which I absolutely love, and actually law, I think. And so I was the chair of the Western region, and I chaired a program that was in California for 5 years of putting on an educational program, bringing together all factions of the Commercial Law League. I also served as chair of the Creditors' Rights section and on the Board of Governors, which I loved. I love doing all that, I think, more than the day-to-day of being on the phone call and negotiating settlements. But I did love that as well, too, and I feel like I was a leader in that as well, because a lot of what was happening in the collection industry when I first joined was the way that we treated people that owed money, even if they were business people, which what we were dealing with was not particularly kind. And I really felt that as a leader, it was my job to treat people with dignity and respect and work with them if I could. If they were jerks, we could always file and stuff, but that was my first responsibility. And I guess another way that I've been a leader is that when I guess as a parent, we're always a leader as well. But when we sold the practice and I became more Jewel Consultancy head full time, to be a leader in both a coaching and a attorney way is a whole new blend of things, which I really enjoy, because what I found out was I got my diploma 6 years before we sold the firm, because I just realized I didn't know how to listen. I thought I was great in it, and I really wasn't. And to bring those two things together is really like icing on the cake for me, because you really help people learn how to actively listen and communicate with people. So we're building bridges and maybe settling more cases and keeping more associates in our law firm. I think that's a real leadership skill.
I agree. Communication is key. And you built a career that combines law, coaching, leadership, and communication. What first led you to focus on negotiation and executive presence in this way?
Because I was too. I'm a young attorney. How do I do that? What's the presence that I hold? And I just had I guess I've done a lot of mentoring as well, where I've been mentored and I've mentored other people. And really, if we hold that big presence, and for me, that means I'm grounded. I'm really fully present in my body. I'm not thinking about other stuff. I'm here with you right here, right now. I'm not thinking about all the other things I need to do today, or I have my yoga class later. I am right here with you. And I'm really interested in you and I'm curious and I'm being as genuine as I possibly can while having clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries. And learning how to do that, how to just to table the rest of my life on the shelf over there and be with somebody and really listen and not think what I'm going to say when you're talking, just responding as it comes through. I think it's an art form. I really didn't understand that as a young person, as a young attorney. I just thought I was supposed to regurgitate everything, and that's how you make connection. And it's not. It's a learned skill. We can do that, and we just really need to have that psychological safety in conversations in order to maybe have it within law firms.
And that makes total sense. You talk about negotiating with courage and connection. How is that different from the more traditional win at all cost mindset many professionals are taught?
If the win at all mindset, no matter what, build a long-term client relationships that you want to keep in your company. It doesn't build relationships with other attorneys that you might be negotiating with or might bring you business. Because if your only goal with me is, I'm not supposed in particularly, but I do love the analogy because if someone has a football and all they care is about tackling me, being flat on the field and then crossing the finish line, I don't have a connection with them. I don't want to deal with them on a future basis. But when someone actively listens to me, when they're genuinely interested in what I have to share, and because people don't necessarily remember what we've said to them, they remember how we make them feel. And if they feel safe and secure, or they just feel like there's this lovely connection, then it endears long-term clients. It endears having associates that want to stay because they feel seen, heard, and understood versus someone that just wants to mow you over. And chances are you're going to meet them again, even if it's not in a legal setting. It might be at some sort of convention. It might be at the Commercial Law League of America or the American Bar Association. You're going to run into them again. Something's going to happen. And I don't know, my mother, she's sweet like that. I don't see the benefit of it. I feel that bringing the masculine and the feminine together as one, as an attorney, is a big benefit and not being one or the other. I think they work well together.
Yeah, I think people do remember how you treat them. And especially networking is a big part of business. People know that you do good work and they'll maybe send you work, but if you treat them unfairly, absolutely, it always comes back.
If you're in a conversation and they're looking around the room because you're at some big convention or just wondering to the next person that you can hand the card, people remember that too.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So you talk about executive presence. What role does executive presence play in that building trust and credibility during difficult conversations and negotiations?
If we're not going to always agree with people, but if someone's told you their position and you want to know what their bottom line is or what they want from the conversation, what they're looking for, and you know what yours is, there's no harm in really knowing where they come from. And sometimes if they respond or they ask a question and you're just holding this big presence, I feel like it's a very compassionate space and people respond to that. They can feel that within you, that you're not judging them. And they're much more likely to share a lot more, and there might be some way that we can actually resolve something. And even if we don't, and just say, this is my client's bottom line. I would really like to settle something with you, but I'm not authorized to go any further, or whatever it is. If we treat people with dignity and respect, which is a part of that executive presence, they're going to remember that too. We just can't settle everything. We represent people, and that's just a part of life.
Agree. I agree. You often talk about boundaries. Why are clear and appropriate boundaries so important for protecting our time, our energy, and our integrity?
I think I grew up one of the ways I coped earlier was being a people pleaser. I don't think I was ever a complete doormat. I just really didn't speak up for myself. And I really learned, and this is before I even started into the practice of law, but I really learned as a young attorney, especially at first, I moved from Kentucky up to Ohio with my then partner, and he was doing his residency at the Cleveland Clinic, and someone introduced me to a law firm. It was an insurance law firm. There were no women. And they had certain preconceived ideas about how I should be in the firm. I didn't stay there. But I guess I learned pretty quickly that that we don't want to be anyone's doormat, but we can still be nice, kind, Southern kind of hospitality thing without being caustic or with somebody. And people respect that. People respect that if you're clear, direct, but still compassionate and kind, they have they're more likely to hear you. I don't know if I really answer the question, but it feels like a conglomeration of bringing everything together and being okay myself. I'm okay with who I am. If you don't like me, I was going to go on, but I hope to have a connection with you. But if that's not possible, that's life.
Yeah, I agree. I like that you said that you weren't raised like that for the other question. And I think my grandmother always said it was just pretty much good manners, respect other people. And I think we lose that when it comes to negotiations sometimes. It is the win. I've got to win the best I can for my client or whatever, and as opposed to going into it as a negotiation and seeing the other people.
Yeah, and we want to do the best we can to get what we can for our client. But at the same time, we can really listen, hear, and understand where the other person is coming from. And that might change the client's position. We just never know.
And how do you feel about how do you help people coach professionals in setting boundaries without feeling guilty or damaging relationships?
If that's what they're interested in, I think women are more concerned with that than men traditionally, but I think everyone wants to have clients that want to return and they want to work with people in a way that's more cooperative and caustic. I think that way, because a lot of bar associations and professional responsibility now talks about that. It didn't talk about that when I first started practicing law. There was some pretty caustic attorneys when I was a young family law attorney that the judges just put up with. I don't think they put up with that stuff anymore. So it's not as difficult. And if that's what they need to talk about, of course we'll talk about it. And sometimes people just need to be reassured that they have what they need to be a good communicator. They're already really doing pretty well. And that's enough. And sometimes it's that let's work on your leadership skills a little bit more so that you have more confidence in that area. And here's what that might look like.
Okay, yeah, building leadership skills is important. Now, I know that you talk about the 3 keys to negotiation most professionals were never taught. Without giving away your workshop, what are some of those missing pieces?
I don't mind talking about them because really practicing is permanent. And if someone just hears it once here, it's not going to sink in. And I think that's the problem with a lot of law firms that aren't having the culture that really retains those attorneys, because they have a once-off seminar and they think they're going to remember that and it's going to be a part of the firm culture, and that's just not how it works. But the one key is really that active listening that I just was talking to you about, and is that it is a learned skill. Because the visual that I had when I was going through coaching school was that I had anything else that I couldn't talk. It's like you have a visual pen in your mouth so that you're listening to this other person. You don't have to jump in. You don't have to share your 2 cents, but you can ask open questions and really find out what they're about, what makes them tick, what their bottom line is, where they'd like to be at the end of the conversation, maybe some of the things that their client is looking for. So active listening is really key. And I guess we've already really touched on a lot of them. I don't even remember what I said in those 3 things. There's so many things that we really need to embody in order to be a good negotiator and communicator within the firm and without. Is that we talked about boundaries, and boundaries it's important not just with adversaries. We need to have clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries, which can be open or more closed with the members of our law firm, with the people that we're mentoring, with our peers. And we set those boundaries by how the other person is. If I'm a partner and an associate is frantic about something, I might have really strong boundaries, so I'm not letting them spend too much energy, feel all their anxiety and stress, but I can hold a bigger presence and help them. So that's where boundaries can come in within the law firm. And saying if I'm a partner in a partnership meeting and some partner's having a meltdown about something, I'm not going to let them dump into me or influence it. I'll listen to what they have to say and just be a part of the network of partners there of how we're going to deal with it. So yeah, boundaries, active listening, and just being fully present to the best of our ability and taking care of ourselves in the process of all of that.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think that's the one thing that gets pushed on the back burner is taking care of yourself, especially women that are trying to strive in business.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I had a solo practice and was in a small law firm because I became pregnant when I opened my first solo practice. And my father was an entrepreneur and I didn't like people telling me what to do particularly. But it really helped to be able to have the time because I like found a workout facility to drop my son off. I went running with my friends and I found ways to engage in self-care that didn't stop. So I didn't become an older woman and then was falling apart.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we need to start taking care of ourselves earlier instead of focusing on everyone else. And I think that's getting more is happening more with women today than it did in the past.
It's key. We were taught to be caregivers, but in order to get to others, we have to fill up our own cup with self-love, and then we can overflow to other people. Otherwise, we're going to be a well run dry, and we're going to get frustrated and angry, and then have to deal with our behavior, and then start that cycle all over again.
Exactly. So what do you think law school failed to teach lawyers about communication, negotiation, and relationship building?
Most everything. I remember I loved like mid-court my first year of law school, and I was learning how to communicate, and it was great to do that practice trial work. But I really don't remember anything in law school teaching me really how to communicate or how to negotiate. There was all these different courses that we took, so we would know different areas of the law, but I don't remember that ever being a focus. And there's tons of studies where most law school students who graduate and go into a law firm feel that law school did not prepare them for how to be an attorney. So I know that I'm not speaking alone.
And I think that's probably one of the big reasons that in the law mentorship is so huge, is because they're not prepared. I mean, and it's those people that take that mentorship and become mentors. I think that makes that you learn to be an attorney.
And as we give, so we receive, and I think we get a lot from being a mentor as well, because we're going to learn and grow from that generation that's younger than us. It's not just a one-way street.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're also talking a little bit about emotional intelligence. So how does emotional intelligence influence negotiation outcomes and leadership effectiveness?
You have to be strong and sturdy and steady if you're in the legal field, and you have to be able to put things to one side, and you have to really be able to manage your own emotions. And that means that I'm not going to become defensive with what other people do. I know that it's their stuff and not mine. If I've made a mistake, I'll own it and I'll apologize for it. But most of what other people say to us is more about them than it is about me. So I just know that, and I see it, and I don't react in kind, because if I become defensive or I fight back, then we're like two boxers in a boxing ring, and we're both going to end up with black eyes. But if I don't give them anything to bounce off of, then it's just going to die. And then we might be able to return to that kind of conversation or not. It really depends on them.
I agree. Because like in sales, it's always mirror the person that you're talking to. And it's sometimes you don't want to mirror. You need to bring them back to conversation.
And you can always feel if something's not genuine if they're using a technique. We're not stupid. Even if I don't know how to name it, the person feels scripted or they don't feel genuine and real. And I'm going to remember that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that you work closely with professional and executive women. What challenges do women often face in leadership or negotiation environments that deserve more attention?
Sometimes they're not taken seriously, but I find
There's that.
I find that the more that we walk into the room as we are, and I'm an older woman now. I'm not going to look at the thing that I was when I was younger, and my feet don't hit my heels anymore, and I'm not a tall person. But this is who I am. This is what I bring, and I feel like the more we step into who we are and what we bring to the table, and let other people's comments fall off us like water off a camel's back, and don't take them on, and we do our homework, and so we know what we're talking about when we walk into a room, and maybe we bounce it off a mentor or accountability buddy in the firm or whatever we have, that we feel a little bit more confident, and practice again is permanent. Sometimes we feel all mushy and anxious on the inside and we're going to breathe and we're not going to project that. That's not going to be who they see.
I like the way you say practice becomes permanent, because we've always heard practice makes perfect.
There's no such thing.
But again,
I don't know about you, but I continue to make mistakes and learn and grow from them. There's no such thing as perfect that I've ever experienced.
good point. Good point. So you work with law firms to help retain associates and retain better associates and that sort of thing. How can leaders create workplace cultures that build that trusted connection that you're talking about and that psychological safety?
It's a process. And the ones that expect to have one conference or a couple of conferences, it happens over time. I like to start with getting to know all the different attorneys and levels in the firm in a confidential way, like having a video call but no pictures so they don't feel and just take notes but don't know their names. And so that I can deliver a summary, a synthesis to the law firm leaders. Another way that I like to do it is to bring the coaching into continuing legal education, because professional development can be learning, because a lot of attorneys are excellent attorneys, but the firm really hasn't invested in leadership skills. They really don't know how to do it. They'll bring that into your professional development, CLE, maybe work with triads where one attorney is playing the partner, one's playing the associate, a third is playing the person that is watching both of them and getting feedback and having difficult conversations that they might not have otherwise, that concern leadership, that concern culture, that concern retention problems, and then have communication with the whole group so that they learn more in a hands-on way, the way we do as adults. So it's a process. And the firms that think that it's going to be just snapping your fingers and happening immediately, that's not really the way it works. It took a while to build a great firm. It takes a while to build a new culture.
It's interesting you say that you have a seminar or two, and after seminars, we're all super motivated. And then the next week you're back at work. So I think the difference is dedication to what you're looking for or the motivation. And ideally you want to have both, but I love the way you're saying you've got to do more than one.
And if you have an independent person or a person that you hire just to do it for the law firm, I think independent is better personally, because then I don't have a stake in it. I'm not enmeshed in everything, and I don't have all that stuff. But it's a long-term process. But the statistics show, and that's what I've been researching recently, is that for medium to large size law firms, if you lose a 3-year associate, the cost to the firm, I'm not making this up, I'm like, really? It's like $1 million. I'm like,
I read that statistic.
how? And so the cost of bringing someone in to run all this for you and to come back to leadership and to make all these connections and find out what's exactly going on in the minds and hearts of the different portions of your firm is going to save you a lot more money than the cost of losing a couple of associates or having a junior partner be siphoned off to another law firm that's going to treat them better or pay them more.
Now, a statistic I heard is if a partner leaves a firm, it could cost up to $7 million you're losing business. You've got to replace them or train up. So keeping your people is so much more important and saving of the business so the culture is hugely important. I agree with that.
And partners and associates and all these people in the law firm, they're busy, they're stressed, they have tons of stuff on their plate. They don't really have time, but it is organized. And it's important that these criteria of meeting with associates, meeting with junior partners, sponsoring them in meetings that they're not in, and all the things that when an associate or junior partner knows that they're known within the firm and they're being given good stuff to do because that's what you want to do with your talent, if they know that's happening, they're going to be retained in order to get that in place. You need someone else to do it. Attorneys, partners don't have time. We're busy. We have plus the plates that are spinning at home or our other life. And otherwise it's going to fall by the wayside. That's my experience. And there's only so many hours in the day.
Agreed. For somebody who's listening today who wants to become a more confident communicator and negotiator, what's the first shift they should make starting today?
Well, it's nice to have an accountability buddy and practice active listening, where it's like, okay, I'm going to be with you. You will maybe have some questions we can ask each other and just listen. And another thing that we can do besides just listen is reflect back. And so what we're doing in those pause moments is we're using their key words and their key phrases to let them know that what we've heard. So learning how to share the words in the language someone else is using, so they feel seen, heard, and understood, and how to really listen with genuine curiosity, asking open questions, is something that you could practice with another person that's interested in doing the same, or take some sort of mini coaching course so that those skills are learned in a group. Because I feel like we're better together. If we try to do things by ourselves, it's going to fall by the wayside.
True. I think the Accountability Buddy is an amazing program. I've been in several masterminds where you team up the motivation after an event to make it dedication. We would pick someone at the event, and that would be your accountability buddy for the next 90 days or until the next event. And it does keep things up, and just the communication. I love that. And practice your communication.
Yeah.
Any final words of advice for our listeners as far as being able to be present and help with their negotiating and being genuine?
I just want to remind everybody that this is one of my personal things. I don't know necessarily for this, but any disaster can become a blessing. Any blessing can become a disaster, and there's always a better way. So if something falls apart, we can find a way to put it back together again. We might lose some help. If a blessing comes our way, don't look at a gift horse in the mouth and be grateful for it, and don't blow it. And we're always learning and growing. It's like mistakes are opportunities to learn and grow. They're not disasters. So what can I learn from this situation? When something comes up in the future that's similar, what can I learn and how can I do things differently? So we're always evolving and learning and growing. And that way we don't beat ourselves up when things aren't perfect, which they never are.
No, true. That's very well said. Gosh, thank you so much. I know that my audience is going to want to listen to you or connect with you and maybe chat with you about your services and your program. Where's the best place they could do that?
My website is Jewel Consultancy, JEWEL consultancy.com. And you can always just text me. That's the quickest way to reach me. Because you know how it is. We get so much email and so much spam. Yeah. So many spam phone calls. You can text me at 720-936-2634. I'm happy to respond. Or you can do that through WhatsApp as well if you're in a different country.
Fantastic. I love it. I'll make sure that all of those are in the show notes, or people can reach out to you. And Arlene, thank you so much for your advice and the conversation today. This has been great.
Oh, thank you.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. Before you go, I want to make sure that you know about something that could be a real game changer for your firm. If you've been doing the work, showing up, serving clients, but your marketing still isn't producing the caseload you know you deserve, that's exactly the problem Law Marketing Zone was built to solve. My team and I work exclusively with law firms, and we don't do cookie cutter. We build a strategy around your practice, your market, and your goals. More high-quality leads, better cases, less stress, and more profit. Head over to lawmarketingzone.com/book a call and book your free case growth session today. The link is in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.